He needs to play like Superman, but you're going to show us it was actually playing like Clark Kent that is the reason they won last night.
Absolutely. And then the Superman moment came, but it was 3rd and 7, fourth quarter. And this is the moment where I was like, all right, he's starting to understand it. Again, 3rd and 7, fourth quarter. We're down 7 points. This is the time to put on the cape. Okay, I got to go make a play. So the Eagles line up, and they're down in their trip set. And Carson Wentz looks out, and he goes, well, there's only 2 defenders out there for the Giants. Something must be up. So he brings his eyes on the inside, and he sees both linebackers up in the line of scrimmage. So instead of him trying to go, I'll make a play. I'll do it on myself. What I love that he does is he looks down here to these receivers, and he changes the play. What he changes it to, again, on 3rd and 7 is this. He's going to go trust that receiver will go make a block. And that receiver will go make a block, and I'm going to throw this little quick screen to the flat right now. Again, this linebacker was up in the line of scrimmage, and Carson Wentz is going, I trust you guys that you'll go do your job, and I can throw this ball, 5 yards in front of the sticks on 3rd and 7 in the fourth quarter. That is a guy willing to play Clark Kent football because that's the linebacker, Ogletree, that was up in the line of scrimmage that has to go make that tackle, and he's not able to go close the gap there. That was a big moment to me to go, okay, he's starting to understand the situation. Now let's go to the game tired. I love the placement of this play, left hash, right? Why that matters is because you have 1, 2, 3 tight ends up at the top of the screen. Now, the ball being on the left hash with those numbers, this safety can't just play to the tight end numbers because there's a one-on-one matchup at the bottom of the field that you can leave this whole field for a throw. So I love the design by Doug P. Now, this guy that everybody knows is the man to watch. Zach Ertz on this route. He's going to widen release on this defensive back, and watch how good of a job he does to open up that defensive back. And I want to freeze it in this moment because there's a guy up at the top of the screen that everyone can't see. That's a receiver. He's covered. This guy, he's covered. This guy, he's covered. There's one person that Carson Wentz could throw the football to right there. Only one. This is the moment to be Superman. Golden is bearing down on his chest, and he's going to try to split his sternum in half. Now watch the throw and the ball placement to Zach Ertz. It doesn't get any better than that, folks. That ball placement doesn't get any better than that when you're getting split in half by a 250-pounder. So you watch the kid grow up and go, you know what, in that moment, I needed to be Clark Kent. And then the moment presented itself where he had to rise up and make a big-time throw and be Superman, and he did it.
It's really well done. And you've made the point this morning, Desmond, multiple times. This is the kind of win that can sort of mobilize a team. I'm not sure that's the word I'm looking for, but so get a team going that has been really struggling.
Galvanize the team. You get the team. I tell you, you love Carson Wentz. That was a great breakdown thing. But no, this is the type of win that can turn the season around for the Philadelphia Eagles. Great win last night. It wasn't more about the Giants. It was more about the circumstances they had to overcome.
Yes, and galvanize was indeed the word I was looking for there. So let's work our way forward because I have a couple of sneaky big notes coming out of the NL from yesterday, and one of them is from Seattle. Rashard Penny will miss the rest of the season with an ACL injury. Before the injury, he was starting to come on for Seattle, accounting for 236 yards and 3 touchdowns in their previous 2 games. More sneaky big news. A source is telling our Adam Schefter that Colts veteran kicker Adam Vinatieri will undergo season-ending surgery on his left knee. The team officially placing Vinatieri on injured reserve yesterday. And then more kicking news. Out of Dallas, the Cowboys this week released their kicker Brett Maher, who leads the league with 10 missed field goals this season, and signed veteran Kai Forbath to replace him. Forbath has good numbers. Maher's been a good kicker for a long time, but this year he has really struggled, including in their loss on Thursday night. And so this was a week that began. I was here Friday morning, and we were talking about, will the Cowboys fire their coach? Instead, they cut the kicker. So we're talking about the Cowboys. We watch the Eagles. Which of these 2 teams looks like the better team to you?
Well, I think the Cowboys look like the more talented team and the better team, but I'm taking the Eagles, and that's unequivocally for me. I took them to begin the season. I believe in their coaching staff more. I believe that last night's performance, we've talked about it all morning, Des, like last night's performance was one of those performances when you walk in the locker room and it gives you juice. It gives you adrenaline. It gives you belief. So I'm taking the Eagles, and also I think their defensive line can at least challenge the Cowboys' offensive line.
What do you think?
I like the fact that when you look at the Cowboys, it seems like they're underachieving. They have all this talent, but they're not hitting the heights that they should. But then when you look at the Eagles, they're overachieving right now. They have a lot of confidence. They had a quarterback who lost his top receiver, Alshon Jeffrey. They didn't even hesitate. They went out there. They stayed the course. It wasn't easy. I love the fight in the Philadelphia Eagles right now.
So I will present this as a notion because we saw over the weekend Adam Schefter reporting the NFL. One of these two teams is going to win the NFC East and is going to host a playoff game wild card weekend against a team that will have a much better record, whichever team that winds up being. And Adam Schefter said that there doesn't seem to be any appetite within the NFL for reseeding the NFL playoffs. And I tweeted this, but sometimes on Twitter things aren't as clear as you would like them to be. I'm not in favor of reseeding, okay? I don't believe the NFL should just take the top 6 records in the NFC and put them in the playoffs. But I do believe they can make one very simple change, and I will present it to you now. We will call this the Greeny Rule if you want. I've had some success with that in the past. Do not reseed. Just give home field advantage to the team with the best record. It's not that complicated.
Right.
So the Cowboys or the Eagles, whoever winds up winning that division, would play Seattle, if indeed that's the way it plays out in the first round, but just play the game in Seattle.
Yeah.
So you still maintain the integrity and significance of the division. The Cowboys are still in the playoffs by virtue of being the champion of the NFC East.
Right.
But don't make Seattle travel across the country if they're 13-3
right.
and Dallas is 7-9 and play that game on the road. That's the Greeny Rule. What do you think?
I think that's one of the best things I've literally ever heard when it comes to the NFL, let alone the playoffs. I mean, the NFL is the ultimate meritocracy. You should get what you've earned. And for teams that play in really difficult divisions, you shouldn't get penalized for being in a really good division and teams get rewarded for being in a really bad one.
Yeah.
This
is one that makes too much sense. Like, it just makes too much sense.
It makes a lot of sense. You should be rewarded for victories, not for mediocrity. So how are you going to have a team with 12 wins have to travel across the country? That makes absolutely no sense. I agree with you, Greeny. They should do that.
Yeah, and again, it's not reseeding. Those are two different things. I'm not talking about taking a division out of the playoffs. Yeah. Let that go. That's important. But the reality is it's harder to go 7-9 in the NFC West than the NFC East, much less going 12-4.
So you're saying if like the NFC East champion still gets into the playoffs.
Plays a playoff.
They just don't host a playoff game.
Correct.
That's
you just give home field advantage to the team with the better record.
Agree.
It's not that complicated. It's not reseeding. And let it forever be known as the Greeny Rule. Meanwhile, I got some college stuff to get to here with Mr. Feinbaum. The Lane train is back to the SEC. Lane Kiffin has signed on to become the head coach at Ole Miss after leading Florida Atlantic to its second Conference USA championship. And this is something that will get a lot of attention because of Lane Kiffin's long-standing history in the SEC in a variety of places. A brief stint as the head coach, of course, at Tennessee, and then a successful stint as the offensive coordinator in Alabama. And Nick Saban's assistants have historically had all kinds of trouble with him. But I think you think this is going to be different this time.
Yeah, remember one thing. A couple of years ago, Lane Kiffin got the FAU job, and he coached in the semifinal game, so he quits. And he still got fired by Nick Saban because he lost interest right before the final. I think it ended up costing Alabama a national championship. But Lane Kiffin is obsessed with Nick Saban. I think Nick Saban is obsessed with him. And Greeny, I firmly believe that of all these disciples, and we've talked about them ad nauseum between Kirby Smart and Jimbo and so many others, that Lane Kiffin is going to be the first Saban disciple to beat the GOAT. I'm not saying it will happen next year, but it's going to happen because he will spend every moment. He'll lose 11 games to prepare for that one. And I think Saban's not intimidated by people, but he's going to look over there and go, I don't want to play Lane Kiffin.
He's like a gnat for Nick Saban, isn't he? And in the best, most respectful way that you can be a gnat. I mean, here's the thing about Lane.
A gnat?
I think when you look, like a GNAT. Anyway, when you look at what he brought to the SEC, that was part of really the shift offensively in the entire league that then made all these other teams, Greeny, have to decide that they've got to do big changes with their programs. And I do think that Lane will be obsessed with Coach Saban. There's a way that Saban looks at Kiffin with respect, but he also can't stand him.
I had someone close to Nick Saban tell me once that he had to get rid of Kiffin before the national championship game because he was like your recalcitrant 16-year-old who just grabs the keys to the Ferrari and forgets to turn the garage door open and he goes right through it.
Kiffin's matured a lot, though, since then, though, I think. At FAU.
Is this a good move? I mean, people will ask this at Ole Miss because of the history involving Kiffin. You like the move?
They were 4-8 under Matt Luke. This is a brilliant move. I mean, you hate to hire a coach to win the press conference, but this is Lane's 5th head coaching job, 4 in college and 1 with Al Davis at the Oakland Raiders. I think it's a fantastic move.
It is his, and you can take this however you wish. but it is his 5th head coaching job, and he's 44 years old. So, I mean, that tells you 2 different stories at the same time. Let's leave it on.